This is a clip from the Red Cow Arcade podcast.
You know, we continue with our TikTok adventures, and it continues to be really fun to up, because like I said, like it feels like I can upload anything to this platform and it gets a few thousand views, like right off the bat. Like they'll just blast it out, it'll get a few thousand views, and then it kind of stops. And one thing that was kind of exciting was on the last pod we talked for a minute about, like, wouldn't it be cool if they did animated versions of Legends? And that TikTok got like 93,000 views, like that, like while I was asleep. I woke up to, you know, like a few hundred comments and stuff. It was kind of a neat little thing.
Yeah, and even like, what do they call it when the person does a video beside you?
A duet.
A duet, and there's like that nerd girl or whatever, and she was just like, I don't know, like, I guess they just make faces while you talk, and they're like,
yeah, there's like, yes.
I don't know what kids are doing.
Yeah, well, I'll neither do I, apparently. So that was cool. Although even that video had its fair share of like, yeah, they should make animated stuff, but Disney will never do it because they don't want to undermine the sequel trilogy. Or, well, actually, the Legend stuff was dog shit anyway. It was all fan fiction. Or, no, don't make more animated Skywalker stuff. Get away from the Skywalkers. Or no, Disney wouldn't do that because it would confuse the continuities. Or there was like a lot of like naysayers and stuff, and I was like, no, I like my idea actually.
Yeah, and they're doing visions already, which are not like canon, so it's like they can do whatever the fuck they want.
You think they're that worried about the audience? They were like releasing Rogue One between like the sequel movies and the
they're not
young Solo movie. They don't care.
Yeah, they released a sequel trilogy, so they obviously don't care.
Yeah, right. They got episodes of Mando inserted in the middle of Boba Fett. I mean, they don't care.
It's true.
They're winging it. And by the way, just a side comment. There's a Disney Gallery making of the Boba Fett show, and you know I'm like a big defender. As time has gone on and I've reflected on it more, and I've been thinking that we're so saturated by content that you never rewatch anything, like even stuff you kind of like how often do you like Thor Ragnarok? Amazing. How often do you rewatch Thor Ragnarok? Like not even very often. And but like I've gone back to like moments in the Book of Boba Fett now a few times. Like I really like the stuff with the Tuskens. I actually think that last episode where it was just mayhem in Mos Espa was actually pretty cool. I think everything with Cad Bane really did work ultimately. And when I watched the making of, and I saw all this kind of thought that they put into how they were going to do this, and it's really Filoni and it's really Favreau, and everything they have to say about their creative direction or how they arrived at creative decisions, it's at least thoughtful and, yeah.
And I actually, because I have a Samsung Frame TV. That I'm experimenting with and reviewing actually. So I've been going back and watching some content over a bunch of streaming services.
And does Disney stream in 4K?
Yes.
Yeah.
And so I think so. Or at least if it looks good enough. Anyway, so I threw on Mandalorian season 2 and I was like, it's so much better. It's so much better than Obi-Wan Kenobi. Like it's leagues better. Like there's no context.
How everybody like it is in fairness, it is hard to maintain your perspective on these things because you watch so much of it and you don't remember it, and like you lose your sense memory really fast. But maybe it's because
they throw a Moon Knight at you and you're like, is anything good? And you're like, yeah,
exactly. But I like to think maybe because we make media or whatever that we do have like a little bit of a better sense memory for like, no, there's a difference between that thing and that thing over there. Like they're not just the same, And yeah, so like, I feel like it's transparent that it was definitely a different team that worked on Kenobi than worked on Mandalorian and Boba Fett. Like obviously,
like a much lower IQ team.
Yeah, exactly.
Or who didn't care and cut corners, but somehow spent a lot of money. Yeah. It's like one Mandalorian looks way better, looks more cinematic, looks more like Star Wars, better acted. Everything's way better.
Yeah, the emotions,
the direction's better.
It's all good. But I think even though Boba Fett's not quite where Mando is, I think it's quite good, and especially if you were looking for something that was connected to the Star Wars that you remember and love and stuff. I think it does a pretty good job of that too.
Yeah,
well, anyway,
I think so.
We one of those TikToks we put up. I was just mining our podcast material for something that we could, cut into 1 minute. And we were just we were laughing about how like the droids from Revenge of the Sith were kind of farty and stupid and loud and dumb. And then I was just laughing at like the way that some of the drama in the third act was shot. Like it wasn't shot in a way to maximize the emotion.
It's true.
And good fucking Lord, people are so pissed. Now, one of the things I hadn't heard from the youngins, so geriatric millennials here.
Yes.
At first they're going like, "This is an L take," and I'm like, I'm a loser. is that back? And this is am I a winner?
You have a Wario take or you have a Waluigi take.
And you quickly realize
Waluigi.
You've been hearing the term bad take. That's a bad take, or that's a hot take, or whatever. You start to realize after a while, you hear the same fucking dumbasses say the same stupid catchphrases over time. They're like,
people are just chirping. They're chirping.
Yeah, they're using it's a rhetorical abstraction. Bad take, so that they don't have to say you have a bad opinion, because they know that would sound oppressive and that would sound stupid and they'd have to substantiate it. But if they can kind of just like force their will onto you, if they can just be like, it's a bad take, it's an L take, you can kind of like make almost like a moral claim about like you're just an idiot. It's kind of like it's a way to sneak an ad hominem in without actually going ad hominem.
Yeah.
You could take it a step further, call it a toxic take.
Then you're just a bad person.
Now, what did they substantiate this way? Why do they hate our clip so much where we're laughing about the farty droids? Why are they so pissed about such a thing? The reasoning was Star Wars is made for children.
Of course.
You idiots. The reason that the droids are farting is because they've always farted. And of course they would fart. Of course they would go all over each other.
Around.
Of course you would have one scene where a droid would be going and then in the next scene you would have a man decapitate another man.
Yeah, burn him alive.
Because it's a well thought out children's film.
Oh yeah. Trade blockades have always been the interest of children.
And for that matter, my ace in the hole. Anakin's death is
he doesn't actually die. He just gets severely injured.
That's true. In Kenobi, I'm told that he killed himself. But yeah, of course, Obi-Wan would say the same in the original trilogy. But look, his torture scene at the end of Revenge of the Sith, it's unnecessarily gruesome. I mean, well, actually, I think it's cool. Given that Star Wars, to a large degree, has like religious allegories, I really like the idea of the Force, like as a core. Like if you took world religion, you said like there are forces that either work in the direction of good or the direction of bad. That pretty much sums it up, right? I like the idea. I think one of the strongest things about the prequels is it's a story about a good man who burns in hell and basically puts himself in his own tomb. He's where you can't even see his eyes anymore. He's gone. He died. You don't even know if he can see out of that thing. He just has haunting breath. Like, it's a regulator. He's not even like keeping himself. So all the allegory I think of Darth Vader is really compelling, even if it wasn't intended when they first made the original trilogy. I think that the way they retconned that was really cool. But the point remains, they dismembered the fuck out of him. I mean, they made him a quadriplegic. just his robot arm, right? Or is that still the human arm? We had a debate about this. I can't remember.
I think one of his arms is a robot. I think he still has one arm, like one human arm.
When he becomes Vader, he still has a human arm.
He has a human arm. He has a robot arm, and he has 2 robot legs.
Okay, fair enough.
But the thing that I saw from is the it's like it's from a YouTube video of, was it The Last Jedi, where the guy holds up the sign. It's like it's space wizards for children or whatever. It's a movie of space wizards for children. That whole thing.
That guy's a fucking idiot.
Yeah, he's totally wrong.
I would say that's an L take.
That's an L take. His opinion is wrong, and he should feel bad. And I'm the oppressor. I'm going to tell him his opinion is bad.
George maintains, specifically when criticized about Jar Jar. Let's be specific now. I've heard George say, like, some of the grown-up fans, they don't want to admit it, but it's for children. It's for little babies. George will say this, and come on, George is an insecure man who isn't fully confident. I think it's something I've heard him say. He's like, every time I make a movie, prequels, the originals, it always comes out not really the way I wanted it to come out. And like he's like, so I have to kind of trust people when they like it, and I'm glad they like it. But yeah, like I don't think he's necessarily fully in control of the way these things come out, and I think the it's for children thing is cover. But fine. Let's say that this film where he dismembers a man and burns him alive in front of us is a children's film, which is fucking ridiculous. But surely The Last Jedi, by the time we get to Disney, by the time it's handed over to other creators, we're not still in children's territory. And here's a point. I'm going to roll the clip, actually. This is the clip of, there was a guy on TikTok, he did a stitch. So you got your duets, you got your stitch, and you got your L takes. This is all the gang language I've been learning while on TikTok.
Get your Wario takes, get your Waluigi takes.
This dude he said he sounded like a weird kind of robot parrot, where he was like, oh my God, it's toxic fans saying, guys, here's the deal. Star Wars is for kids. It's always been for kids. It's always gonna be for kids. You look fucking stupid to me, Big Chad TikToker.
Oh, this is such a terrible take that I keep seeing in Star Wars fandom. Look, here's the cold hard truth that you need to accept, especially you Star Wars adults. Star Wars movies are made for kids. They always have been, and they always will be. George Lucas intended them to be space western family films. They're made for kids. There's going to be goofy moments. There's going to be funny moments. There's going to be moments that we as adults are like, why is this in here? But you have to realize kids are enjoying it. As kids, we loved the prequels. That's just the way it is. And then we grew up thinking, oh, we hate the prequels, and now we love them again? I don't know. Star Wars fandom is confusing. But one thing you have to accept, in the past and going forward, Star Wars films are made for kids in mind and families. You just have to accept it. Stop giving these L takes. You look stupid.
The original Star Wars is not for kids. Well, I mean, I think it appeals to kids
it's a 4-quadrant film.
It's a coming-of-age story.
It's for everybody. It's for mom and dad. It's for sister and brother. It's for everybody.
It appeals to young people because it's an adventure story about a kid who wants to transition into adulthood and learn cool stuff. Like it's become a warrior, protect your tribe. It's like, it appeals to children initially, but it's a forward-thinking adult, like toward adulthood film.
I would say it's as childish or as adultish as really any broad fiction.
Yeah.
I mean, it's almost like the Star Wars is almost the quintessential fiction, like 20th century fiction. Like, yeah. And we have children. Our children watch children's movies. Let's not forget the way they're characterizing this. They're saying that that Star Wars are children's movies, not family movies, children's movies.
Like the Minions movies?
Yeah. The Star Wars is not Minions, guys. Like I don't know who convinced you of this. I don't know how you convinced yourself of this, but I think it was to try to win some argument about Jar Jar. And so
are you trying to say that Star Wars is like that movie G-Force with the guinea pigs?
Exactly.
It's not.
It's not Coco Melon, you fucks. God damn it. And even if it was, this is the of course the irony, that wouldn't necessarily make Jar Jar Binks a work of genius art.
No.
It'd
be an annoying really children's character.
Yeah. And like so in some of those comments I was like, so you're telling me a man being dismembered is a kid's movie? And just about everybody who replied to that was like, all right, touche. Including the guy who did the stitch. He was, I did a reply and he was like, touche. And he's like, I appreciate the video editing and stuff. So he was cool about it. But when I brought up the farting droids, almost everybody was like, you're nitpicking. You're nitpicking.
Roger.
You're like, yeah, if the first 25 minutes of your film is droids being like, and like the main bad guy is like General Kenobi, and the whole thing is just ridiculous, and it's switching tones wildly, and the Emperor's going, do it, and
they decapitate a guy.
They decapitate a guy. No, all of that makes perfect sense, and you're nitpicking. And here's the thing: I don't even want to pick on the prequels. I have no.
I have no desire.
I'm letting them go. I've already let the prequels go. I'm here to hate The Last Jedi with the rest of you all. And more Kenobi. I'm more interested in Kenobi at the moment. But and then thirdly, we also did a TikTok about the that guy from Empire. It's like 2 fighters against a Star Destroyer. And there was a number of people who came out in defense of that guy. They're like, what fucking Star Wars movie have you been in? As if that guy, like, that was like, he like clawed his way to that role. I'm like, I have a weird feeling that he was kind of, he showed up that day and they said, do you want to say the line? He's like, I could try to say the line or something. So those are our adventures in TikTok. Yeah, this very rote, parroted argument about they're for children. It doesn't work on a number of layers, and I wish people would just pause and understand that the thing they're saying makes no sense at all.
Yeah, I mean, it's almost like saying Lord of the Rings is for children.
Yeah,
or,
it's exactly the same thing.
It's not the same.
It's a movie about wizards and small hobbits and dwarves for kids and babies.
So that means you can't have any of your L takes.
I guess that guy had like somebody in our Discord shared with us like a Twitter thread from that guy that was like, oh, I hate when this screenshot from my video gets reposted because it implies that I think that kids' movies can't be criticized or something. And I'm like, well, that's good that you recognize that. But like, so what was the, I guess I'd have to go to the video and watch this idiot's review.
Yeah, it's exactly what you think it is. He's like,
yeah,
it was, from what I could tell, he was talking about The Last Jedi. He loved it. And then he's like, oh, you're nitpicking it. So just remember, it's wizards for the space wizards. And
yeah. So like, what could you possibly be saying other than like, we shouldn't be critical of fiction? We shouldn't be very critical of fiction. We probably shouldn't be very critical of anything that's not related to like world hunger and disease or something.
Yeah, it'd be like you can't criticize like a Dune novel or something. It's like it doesn't make any sense. It's about not having water for kids. For children.
It's about Barry Harkonnen for kids.
It's ordering a Subway sandwich.
Actually, when we were talking about, when we were having a spirited discussion about this kids thing, Dan, who's been on the pod, he was like, yeah, but with Star Wars, you probably still do have to kind of come into it at like, before the age of 17, let's say, to get the maximum out of it, so that like you ponder the vessels and vehicles and you're interested in the whole galaxy and stuff. And I was like, that's a good point. And that's, I was trying to imagine. I was like, what if I had come to it when I was 36? How would I? And I was like, well, if I saw A New Hope at 36, I think I would be like, holy shit, this was made in 1977. This is like an amazing sci-fi movie made in 1977 rather. Like on those terms, it would have blown me away. I'd be like, this is really awesome that they made this back then. By the time you get to Empire, I think I just would like it, just like as a great movie. And
yeah, I don't know, because now I mean, I came to Marvel stuff as an adult, like I had never read the comic books. I have no connection to Marvel, but when I saw like Winter Soldier and the other Russo brothers Marvel films, that kind of brought me into the universe. So I don't necessarily agree with that, but I think there is like the nostalgia factor that definitely plays a role in it. I watched all the movies on VHS when I was in my formative years. So,
well, there's a possibility that if you had discovered these Marvel movies when you were 14, that you would have gone deep on video games, comics. You would sort of like engage with it in a different way, even though you really like it as an adult. As a kid, like it becomes your whole world, maybe.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, but that's with anything,
Yeah, right. Yeah,
but the thing is, I'm seeing every single fucking Thor movie, man. What do you want at me?
I was saying to him, by the time you get to Mandalorian, I actually like. I think it's probably more for grown-ups than it is for kids. I mean, I think a teenager could like that movie for sure. There's Baby Yoda and stuff, but generally speaking, I think that the target demo for that is probably. Yeah, it's probably couples who want to watch a prestige TV show, right? It's kind of more that.
It's somebody who, maybe grew up on Star Wars vaguely, and watches Better Call Saul and Mad Men, and.
But don't you think they're trying to get the wives too? Like the people who are watching Stranger Things and The Boys?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah. It's, and I think that is more. And I think you saw the whole Baby Yoda thing. Like people share gifs of it.
Right.
You can go to Target and you can get a bunch of merch from it. I think it definitely it gets that whole 4 quadrant and husband and wife activity.
What they're trying to do, I think, is like have Star Wars properties that exist at different demo levels. So like, I guess their lowest one would be like Disney XD. So like Rebels animated on Disney XD. They don't go lower than that. Like Marvel does Spidey and His Amazing Friends on Disney Junior.
Yeah.
So they actually have like a baby one. And Star Wars has not done that yet, despite the claims from TikTok nerds.
Wasn't there like a Resistance series that was kind of
I don't know
that nobody talks about because it was like horrible.
It must have been terrible, right? Like it just got swept under the rug.
I want to say I think it was a younger demo too.
Some shit's just so bad that no one watches it in the first place and nobody gets mad about it.
Yeah, it's great.
Subscribe to Red Cow Entertainment on Patreon for full episodes every other week.